What up, peeps? It's the SEC Connect, man. We only got 3 out of the 5 today, man. Ty has some work done in this house today. Jay, he got stuff with the kids, but you got me, you got Chris with a K, and you got my boy Steven, man. Like, comment, subscribe to the SEC Connect channel, and also all the other channels that we all support. NinosCorner, sports podcast, Fanatic Perspective, the Horns Down podcast down there. Always horns up though. And Ty's, his ATS Sports and also Jay's Unfair Sports as well, folks. So, folks, we got a busy hour packed, schedule here today, man. We are going to talk about a lot in the SEC. Texas and Michigan happened. That was a very interesting game. We're going to talk about Alabama and OU. Should they be worried with the performances that they put on? And also, who are the fraudulent teams here in the SEC here, just over these first couple weeks and going into week 3? But fellas, man, what's going on?
Nino, what's up, man? What's
Hey,
up,
man.
Chris?
Feeling
Not
good.
much, man. Not much. Just ready to talk some ball.
Let's talk some ball then,
Hey,
man.
I may have to drop off and come right back. Like things kind of seem choppy, so let me yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll wait till Chris comes back because I want to talk about this Texas and OU. I think that's why Chris dropped off. He don't want to talk about it right now, but we know what's happened with that Texas and OU.
You know, attendance. It's funny how attendance is a little light this week. After everybody was here,
performances.
I know life happens. I know things. Hey, Chris.
Here he is. Chris back. Hey, Chris, we're gonna start off, man, with this Texas Michigan game, man. And since you are the non-Texas person, I want to get your honest opinion and feedback on the Texas versus Michigan game when Texas went up there and won that damn thing 31-12 in the big house against the defending national champions. What you got to say about that, Big Chris? What a K.
Well, I mean, first off, I would just say this: Michigan is definitely not the team that we all were hoping that they would be. This was not the matchup that we were hoping that it would be. But I mean, in all honesty, good stuff, man. Good shit. Like, I mean, Texas went up there and they did what good teams should do, which is beat bad teams. And they went up there and they handled business and they looked pretty damn good doing it. I'll give you guys that. Helm looks like he is. I thought Night Black was going to be the guy for you guys at tight end, but it looks like Helm has taken a leap. Quinn has really good pocket presence or whatnot. It was kind of one of those games where you were just sitting there looking at Michigan like, hey, offensively, y'all got to do something, simply because defense can only hold up for so long and try to keep this, from being what it was, right? So, I mean, honestly, can't really knock the performance. You guys went up there and did what you need to do. I'll be mature about it today and just give you guys hey, good job, man. Y'all want to do what you needed to do.
Steven, how about you, man?
I respect everything I heard from Brother Chris, and I agree with a lot of his analysis there, right? I mean, this is, we're the SEC Connect, so we're talking about things from the SEC perspective. I can't speak on what Michigan is or isn't. I know what we went up there and did from an execution standpoint. I know how difficult it is to play on a road in that environment, in a building which they had won 23 straight home games, 34 straight regular season games, and a Michigan defense that has several guys who will be Sunday players. Mason Graham, who's an All-American, Will Johnson, who's an All-American first-round pick type player, Savion, Stewart or Josiah Stewart, and all those guys. I mean, there's still a lot of really good football players over there. I think they still will have a pretty solid season in the Big Ten, but Texas from where Sark is building this program and taking us in the SEC, things are going according to plan. Last year, 12-2, finishing with the Big 12 championship, mission accomplished, getting out of the conference in that regard. The recruiting aspect, I touched on this just now. We just had a stream on Bleacher Report an hour ago. Look at all of the guys that contributed in Saturday's game. Some of the big time players, right? Colin Simmons had the highest grade of a Texas player that played, according to Pro Football Focus. Anthony Hill, just those two alone. I tweeted this earlier this week about envisioning a defense in which Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons are out here pursuing opposing quarterbacks. Well, that dream is now a reality, Nino.
Mhm.
Um, the Ryan Wingos of the world, right? The the Jarek Gibsons of the world, young guys that are already contributing. Malik Muhammad, Derek Williams. These are all guys that were making plays or were a huge part of the game plan. Trey Wisner, from those 2023, 2024 classes, a lot of them DFW South Dallas kids um, that are freaking winners. And this is where you guys have really dominated that Dallas Fort Worth area for the last 20 something years. It is talent rich here, and you guys are still getting players. Don't get it twisted, but we've had to. This is where we've starting to make our strides. Where a lot of these players probably would have gone to either OU or Ohio State in the past. Let's just be honest. I saw J.K. Dobbins on Pat McAfee's show the other day, and he commented on Texas, and he basically, without saying it, said this type of Texas wasn't available when I came out of high school. Like that wasn't an option for me versus what it is now and what it's becoming, and the future's bright. I think from what we saw on display from a lot of those young guys, there's going to be a lot of conversation about Quinn and the big time guys, and it's deservedly so. But I'm really really happy about my young boys and just the temperament that they had on the road. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah, so talking about the young ones, right? I don't think we've ever been able to talk about this in probably the past 10 years, Stephen, which is kind of crazy to say. Um, I want to say this is that Sark is building the depth on the team, and we're starting to see that even when if Quinn goes out for a game or two, Texas isn't going to fall off a cliff because you got somebody behind them who's probably just as good, right? You got guys like Bond and Golden and more. If those guys had to miss a couple games, we saw what Ryan Wingo was able to do in a big time, game here against Michigan. You already know what Silas Bowden can do to as well. He did it, just last year. I think he had about like 750 yards last year. So you got him. You got a Jonte Cook also there, man. So you got 2 5-stars and a really good transfer as well. If Gunnar Helm goes out, people, like even Chris was saying, he thought Knoblack was going to be the guy. I mean, he's just kind of waiting just to learn the playbook all the way through, right? So the depth on this team is something that I think has been lacking a lot over the past years, and now we're starting to see it. Sark is very comfortable. We used to joke about Sark only going to play like 3, maybe 4 wide receivers, really 3. Right? Sark's, like over these last 2 games, has played about 7 each game. And in pivotal moments, not during blowout sessions. Like he was literally playing a Ryan Wingo and a Silas Bolden and a Jonte Cook throughout the entire game. Right. So that was 6 deep at the wide receiver position. And so it's Sark trusts the guys that are on his team right now. And it's just good to see that Texas does have this depth right now. But yeah, defensive side of the ball too. I thought Texas might have taken a step back this year, with losing, Sweat and Murphy. They look damn good. They look damn good. Now, mind you, Michigan's not the same Michigan as last year. I will say that. But hey, no, I say that. But this was the same thing that was said about Alabama last year when Texas went up to Tuscaloosa and won, and all Alabama did was go win the rest of their games and win the SEC championship, right? I remember the same conversation last year that Alabama, it's not the Alabama, oh, this team sucks. We got to bench our quarterback, and
Yeah, but they don't have a Jalen Milrow up there. We thought that's what Orgy was
well,
going to be, and that's not even a slight Texas. I'm just saying I don't think that this Michigan team is going to be a. I don't know if they win
I
10
agree with you,
games this year.
Chris. They have a problem. They have a
yeah,
quarterback
they got a
problem.
problem. They got a
Yeah,
quarterback
They
problem.
have a quarterback.
I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. I'm just saying, like,
No, you're right.
I get the correlation between last year, but that Bama team was even at that point in time with Milroe's progression or in the Milroe journey that we're on right now, that team was still way better than what this Michigan team is now because I think Orgy is disappointing a lot of people, and I hope the kid pulls through whatever case may be, doesn't have any mental health issues or anything like that down the road because it's crazy. It's on full blown national television. What's going on? But I mean that this is Sharon Moore. You know, I saw a tweet the other day, and it was the dude whoever tweeted it was great. How the hell did Michigan not go and get another quarterback in that room? At least somebody, a a tier two
I
guy
agree.
or something. Why
Yeah,
didn't they go and get somebody in the portal? That's crazy.
They should have known during spring ball. Like you would
they
have
should have
thought.
known.
I mean, that's a miss on their part. That's a miss on their athletic department. But Chris, I'm gonna say this in
Yeah.
regards to Texas. Were we tested by good quarterback play? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not even gonna. I have
Yeah,
eyes, and we have eyes. We're not liars. They were terrible. Okay. I would argue that Braden Fowler Nicolosi is better than what we saw in week one. Is better than what we saw in week two.
Yeah.
In all honesty, but what I will say is, to Nino's point, I do think that this Texas defense on the back end with what they got with Andrew Makuba,
yes,
the
Mhm.
experience and the communication and just Johnny Nansen being there, I do think that they will show better when they play those top better tier quarterbacks. One more point I want to make real quick, and this is something I also brought up on Bleacher Report. Texas lost 2 football games last year, and they lost to 2 quarterbacks that played out of their minds. Dylan Gabriel in y'all's game, who didn't just beat us with his arm, but beat us with his legs, and
hmm
Michael Penix, who played out of his
he
mind.
had the game of his life.
To me, that's what it's going to require to beat Texas at this point. I'm dead serious. If you don't have a quarterback that is on or has those capabilities, you don't really have a shot. At least somebody that has the ability to do that, right? I'm not
Mhm.
saying that they got to be a world beater, but they have those abilities.
Yeah,
There's teams on our schedule that do not have that personnel.
Yeah.
Michigan didn't have that personnel. They won't have a chance against our speed, athleticism, and all that to overcome. That's the only way you can overcome something like that is a quarterback playing out of his
I,
mind.
I mean,
So you look at the schedule,
you're right.
Carson Beck, right? Like
yeah.
who's that guy that's gonna
That's going to challenge
really
him.
Now,
throw those fits and challenge them?
I just want y'all to be cautious, okay, and to take this one game at a time because we all know
Sure.
you can look damn good against some of these teams. Don't get into that Nash era of going in and saying that Georgia's the only competition on the thing. Like, even though that's a troll, that's still stupid. At the end of the day, y'all went up there, y'all handled business, and y'all look damn good doing it. So there's no pats on the back for that. That's what you're supposed to do. Y'all went up there and beat a team on national television, a team that people thought should have been ranked, obviously, in the preseason in the top 10 or whatnot. And guess what you did? You exposed them. So, I mean, I can't really get on here today and crap on Texas or really say anything bad about Texas per se because I mean that was a great performance. I mean, you went up there and you did what you needed to do.
I agree.
Well, we won't really be tested again, most likely until we play
You guys.
what you guys. Yeah, because we'll have a bye after Mississippi State. Mississippi State
Oh,
just
no,
lost to
that's going to be.
Arizona State,
Yeah,
and
but
yeah,
look, how do I want to say this? Levy's a decent core. I don't say decent. Levy's a good
he
coordinator, man.
he beat us last year.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Levy's a good coordinator, but he doesn't have the same talent that he has,
At
last
OU.
year. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
um, you know, like I don't want to overlook anybody in the SEC because
And his
anybody can beat
quarterback is
anybody.
shaping. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But look, man. I don't want to, honestly, I don't want to overlook anybody in the conference because you can't. That's how you get upset, right? And we've
Absolutely.
we saw some teams who did get upset in the first week or had the opportunity to get upset, but barely put it out. We've seen it happen over the first 2 weeks, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad team. It just means look. Teams also have good players, also, man. So as good as Texas has players, so do other teams. They might not have the depth, but they have good players too. They have
Yeah.
a D1 scholarship for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So,
But
Chris, go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Oh no, you're cool. I was just gonna say it seems like everybody wants to get to the obvious. They wanna talk about OU.
We'll talk
So
about them in just a
Yeah,
second. Yeah.
yeah, go
I
ahead. Go
wanted to
ahead.
make
I'm just
one
saying.
last Texas point too,
Yeah.
and
Go
we
ahead.
can move because I do want to talk about OU as well.
Yeah.
The last Texas point I wanted to make, I agree. Mississippi State is the first SEC game.
Test.
We got to be
Yeah.
focused. To me, the next 2 weeks for Texas, it's health is wealth. against
Mm-hmm.
UTSA and ULM. Health is wealth,
And
and
get your
getting young
youngins,
guys reps.
get your youngins some reps.
Those are the two things you're looking to accomplish, right? But from a standpoint of the only other mental thing I'm saying, from a standpoint of why I think Texas should be able to get by and not getting upset or anything like that, is they have, because they're coming off of a year where they were already in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
they are at least accustomed to being successful week over week. Like that Kool-Aid could have seeped in many times last season. So because that culture is being, this isn't like our first year where we're good now. This is now the second year. You know, the last 2 years under Sark, they're 14-2 now over the last 16 games, right? So that in an NFL season, you're probably a number one seed, right, at 14-2. So the focus wise, I do think Texas will be okay, but the next big test is OU off of the bye week, in my opinion, assuming that they handle their business
Which is a
the
perfect
rest of the month.
segue
Yeah,
into
exactly.
Yeah,
So
let's
you
talk about
guys,
OU.
this right here. Now, Stephen, Nick, please, okay? I'm not trying to get into any arguments with you guys. It seems like we started this off on a good note. I
we
think
didn't even ask the question yet.
It took Stephen a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to really get into what he was saying. 'Cause I think he was shocked that I gave a compliment to Texas. So I would just say, Stephen, I'm growing as a person.
Look at you,
But
grown ass man, grown ass man.
but I just want to say this right here to your fans or to the Texas people in here. Texas fans, please. Dave Bumgarner, right? And all these other people. I will say this right here. We were in this exact same position last year, and y'all was sipping that Kool-Aid in Alpha, Alabama, and off of this right here. And then you came to the Red River and you got hit in the mouth. So
You're right.
let's pump the brakes before we go on and say, oh, yeah, this Texas team is going to do this and do that, whatever the case may be. Y'all won a Big 12 championship. I'll give you that. But when it came down to it, playing us imano, I think we got bragging rights. So I'm going to give y'all one more chance to shut the hell up because I'm not going to talk stuff to somebody who beat me. But if you want to do that, you go ahead.
Well,
Anyways, about OU, so we could just get to this. So, guys, what it really boils down, in my opinion, I probably differ from Jay on this. Piss poor execution. Over the two ball games that we've called, you could call it vanilla, you could say whatever you want to say because it's right here, right? I think that Luttrell has called a good game over these last two games. It's just bad execution by Jackson Normal. What he's seeing is not what everybody else is seeing. He has guys that are open where he can take the underneath. He can work the field to open the field up. Running game, we've just basically been running a lot of the same plays with different variations off of it as far as just inside run. It hasn't necessarily been there. I don't want to necessarily rely on the excuse of availability for some of our guys, but I mean, you've seen some of the injuries. It kind of reminds me of that year where you guys took LSU to the brink of death, but you remember Herman having those quote unquote death camps, basically to
Yeah,
where
we
a
lost
lot of
half our
players were
team
injured.
by
Yeah.
midseason.
So it's just one of those things where I want to judge this team whenever we have some of our ones back, or at least get Anderson back, get Hickman back, get guys like that, getting some continuity on the offensive line. We had offensive line was an issue the first game, second game it wasn't. Pass pro, a lot of different things. They graded decently and they played good enough, especially against Houston, where you could have blew that team out. The problem really to me is not necessarily anything on the defense. I think defensively you're fine. Still would like to see a pass rush on the edge, like a true pass rush on the edge. Defensively, I think you're going to be fine. I think you're as advertised on defense. Offensively, even if you're playing your ones, twos, threes, fours, whatever the case may be, you should go out there and be a good team and beat bad teams, which Temple and not Tulane, but Temple and Houston are. But I mean, in my opinion, I y'all know I sing his praises, Jackson Arnold, but in my opinion, my earnest opinion, I think it does fall on him because I when I go back and watch the film and I go back and watch the games as well all the way through, I'm saying, hey, this guy's open, that guy's open. Luttrell is calling a good game. Guys are open. You're not seeing it. You're not working the field. you're locking on, you're staring, your pocket presence isn't good, you're stepping up in the pocket, but you're stepping towards defenders. You're not it's just a bunch of. I think technically he's not technically sound right now, and I'll just throw out what Jay has been saying on his platforms. Jay has been saying, hey, he's not throwing guys open. He's waiting until they get open, and you know that that's a no, especially
Yeah.
at this level in P5 ball, especially in the SEC. You can't do that. The elite quarterbacks throw their guys open. They can improvise. They can keep the play alive. They can do different things like that. And I'm just going to be real. Jackson Darnold has not done that yet. Do I think things can get better? Yes, I do. I think it can't get any worse than what it's been because we've looked just about as bad as an Iowa offense, but hell, Iowa is scoring points right now. So I think you correct things against Tulane. I like this Tulane that's coming in here. I'm sure that everybody is saying they're confident and they can beat us, but at the end of the day, I think that our defense, we're playing at home. Our defense is damn good, and I think Jackson Arnold is going to clean some things up. So I'm eager to see what we see at on 2:30 this Saturday. But I think some fans gotta relax and get this team a chance to get healthy and play ball. But right now it's doom and gloom around here, as you guys already know. So that's just kind of my spiel. I'll let you guys go and I'll respond.
Hey, Chris, this is a good question here, from Nick V. He says, serious question. What are y'all's thoughts on Murray as a running back coach?
The running back room is bipolar. I feel like right now, I'm not sure what they're doing with Sawchuk. I think they're kind of they. This is the thing that kind of bugs me about all of this, and this is a good question. I'll give him that, Nick V. I'll give him that. To answer your question directly, I think DeMarco can do a better job with the rotation because we have a really talented running back room. But
Mm-hmm.
also, I think that Nick and other, especially OU fans, need to understand if you've been reading the tea leaves, you've been reading the notes and all the rest of that stuff from all the insiders, not just the ones on YouTube, but the one that's also in there and got an ear to the streets as well for a word. This has been the plan all along for these first two games. This has been the plan all along, all the way leading up to Tennessee, for guys to be held out, for guys to take this or take that. This has kind of been the plan. Nobody is stuck with that plan. We want to see dominance and all the rest of that stuff, and I get that, but they've told you what they were going to be doing this entire time. What DeMarco's kind of love hate relationship for me because at times he hasn't recruited the greatest, at times he has. At times he's had guys that went out there like Eric Gray who had amazing years, Kennedy Brooks, those guys, all the way leading up till now, and he has all this talent. To me, I think you got to see Tatum more, but that's just my spiel.
Yeah, so my thing about that too, Chris, is I go back and look at Houston played. Who's it? Las Vegas. What was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
UNLV,
UNLV.
Brennan
Yeah,
Marion.
yeah, man. Brendan Marion with the go-go offense, and they ran for almost 200 yards rushing. At a clip of 4.5 yards per carry on them. They actually won the game 27-7. And OU definitely has more talent, and I know it's scheme based too. Because the go-go offense is crazy. I mean, it's a very difficult offense to defend. But you would think with beating Bo at the coach, right? You know what I'm saying, coaching just a straight O line, right? You would think that O line would be strong enough for that team not just to have 75 yards rushing, for OU. That's unheard of for me, right? Like I'm a Texas fan, that I'm a grad, and I've OU's our rival, and so of course we keep up with OU too as well. But OU's always brought in a very physical offensive line that has been able to run the ball, and especially against lesser talent. And it just didn't seem like that was the case against Houston.
Steven?
Yeah. So I want to ask the Jackson Arnold thing, right? Like typically with a young guy, you'll have they lean on the run game, kind of lean on the defense, and let them acquiesce into things. And it just seems as though it was kind of hand the keys off and go. And he's there's a lot of this pressure because of the quarterback play that OU has had the last 15, 20 years, that he's just going to keep it running, right? Like Caleb, like Spencer Rattler the first year, like all these other guys that were really good early at OU. And not to say that he's statistically bad. His touchdown interception ratio is okay, but like you said, they're not finishing drives. They're not executing. I also want to make it clear too, like your point about vanilla offense is all that means, folks, is your base offense, right? You still want, if we're vanilla, you still want them to execute the base stuff. The base stuff is what we do every day, right? Like that's the core of our offense. I would like that to know that you have a greater understanding of where to go with the football, regardless of personnel that's in the game.
Yeah,
So that's concerning. But Chris, you mentioned it, the injuries in the wide receiver room is a problem for you guys.
It
I
is.
mean,
big problem.
that's a lot of guys. That's a problem. I mean, it's the Jaden Gibson thing. It's like, okay, we could overcome this. Then Farouk, what, breaks his foot in the
Yeah.
first game? Like those are, that's a guy that was your second leading receiver last year. It's
Yeah.
a lot of production.
I
That's a lot
now,
of trust. You know where he's gonna be.
now Stephen. Now I'll answer these kind of in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
First off, Steven, one thing I will say about the offense is, and I get what you're saying, that's a good point. But you gotta understand, gotta go watch that, gotta go watch some of those Latrell offenses in the past. I've been saying to a lot of people, go watch that film on North Texas, North Carolina, those offenses or whatnot. Like Latrell is calling a good game. Like I said, it's just execution wise, whatever's the disconnect between Arnold and especially in that Temple game, there were a couple of times. I mean, obviously it's Temple, but there were 4 passes that were drops. Right. Second game, just some disconnect. Is just like what's going on. I do think Jackson Arnold's going to be better. I think he will get better, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like a thin line between love and hate, right? Like you gotta understand that on one end, you gotta understand that the guy is what a true, basically a true sophomore, if you want to call him that, or just a
Yeah.
sophomore who's making his third start. But on the other end, you want to say, hey, you guys, regardless if you have twos or threes or whatever out there, you should still be dominant. Same thing that goes to your question, Nick, about the running game.
Hmm.
Not necessarily sure, but I think that you'll see a lot of that unpacked. I don't know why it doesn't seem like we really run this base offense or whatever the case may be, but I think that Tulane competing the way they did, and then the way that you're playing now, pissed off OU team is the best team that I want to, is the only team that I want to see. And I think that coupling those two things up with the fact that, hey, you know that you're gonna have to play a really good game to beat this team, which you should, and you know that you're going to you know what's happened these past 2 weeks, and what all the talk is. I think that you see you come out there and really start fast, start early, and get off to the races with this game and get this knocked out, so the focus can be on that night game against Tennessee. But no, I would just say, I mean, everything that you guys have said is valid. I mean, it's not anything that I can say except for, I mean, hey, we're 2-0, maybe not the way that we want to be, but we're 2-0, still in the hunt for everything that we want to be in the hunt for. But things have to be better, and you're
Yeah.
hoping that when Nick Anderson comes back, and you can get some of those younger guys that we recruited, the Kearneys, the Carry-Ons, guys like that. You're hoping that some of these young guys, Jaquez Petaway, will step up and can be those true number threes, to where when what it's looking like right now is that you got 3 slot guys out there playing your outside positions, and you have Burks where you want him in the slot. But I mean, I think we all are fond of Brendan Thompson in some way, some more than others. I like Brendan Thompson as a wide receiver, but he's my stretch guy. He's my change of the pace wide receiver. When he comes out there, you know that you're about to go to a freaking triathlon, because it's about to get real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to run. But I don't necessarily like him being my number 2 right now, but it is what it is, and it's been good enough to at least help Jackson during this period.
That's cool.
Deion Burks had 9 catches for 53. He's 53 yards, 6 yards per catch. 15 catches on the season, 89 yards. So they got to get stuff
Vertical.
developing downfield and
Yeah,
vertical.
and
And
that's what
I
that
think with
offense wants to do. They want to get vertical. They want to be aggressive down the field, but I mean, it's Jackson and some of these younger wide receivers. I mean, older but kind of young, if you want to call it that. Hester was the talk of camp pretty much, and another 6'3", 6'4" wide receiver that just has not gotten it done on the field. And against Houston, didn't even really see the field. So it kind of leaves something to the imagination of just what would this look like if you actually had your guys. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But another key to it as well is Andrell Anthony. He's back. He is actually back, but they've been holding him out, basically waiting for the Tennessee game as well before they show out with him. Which I think that once he comes back, once Nick Anderson gets back, or once they're all on the field, I think you'll be fine. And if Jake Taylor is back at right tackle, I think you may see EPL Eddie Pierre Lewis at some point. I think you're definitely going to see a shuffle. Remember, on this offensive line, guys, everybody out there, I'm not the biggest fan of this philosophy, but Beatonbow loves to say it's not the best five, the most talented five. It's the best five that play together on the line. So when Hickman comes back, Jay Taylor comes back, I think that you see things get better for this offense. I think it's only up from here. But like Frightening Truth said, shout out to Frightening Truth. He's been showing up on the channel, but Frightening Truth said something that to me that struck a nerve or struck a chord. OU will win, but I think the secondary does get tested. They actually have to work this week because we haven't seen a lot from the secondary except for either picks or people coming downhill and blasting people. So that's a good point.
It's going to be a good
Let me
game.
ask you this.
Go ahead.
I have one last question for Chris, and this is the same question I would ask Ty if he was here about his team. Level of concern heading into SEC play because you guys open with Tennessee. Is that
I would say the level of concern is about a 5 or a 6 right now. I think it for me is still moderate. I'm the ultimate optimist about this team. I think that when you get your guys back, as far as some of the starters, I think that things will be better. And as we're going to continue to talk about, which I know Nick is trying to get to right now, but when we get to it, I think, like I've said all along, and this was before the season, before people started getting injured, but I'll say this right here. With this OU schedule, I take it 3 games at a time because the schedule on paper is hard as hell, but some of these teams soft as doo doo. So I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. My only thing about the OU team, and I've said this plenty of times on previous podcasts, is Jackson Arnold ready? Right. And I, Chris is, he's heard me say this plenty of times. I like Jackson Arnold. I loved him in high school. I just think Jackson Arnold was one of those guys that was going to need a couple years of seasoning before he gets into the game, and so I think Jackson Arnold next year would have been, first time starting, like real starting after sitting down for 2 years and kind of just absorbing the system. I think he'd be lights out. I just hate to see if a kid gets forced in too early. And we see with other SEC teams like Nico and what Nico's doing as a true sophomore and how he's coming out, he's coming out blazing. And it just shows that some guys are more ready for college ball, immediately, and some aren't.
Yeah, but let him actually have his ones too, Nico. I think then you got to realize that if Tennessee was in this position, you probably be saying the same thing about them too, because
But then the only thing that screams of is the lack of competitive depth. That's
maybe
that's that's what that screams of, because we see other teams when they lose guys. I mean, hell, Alabama starting a true freshman who's 17 years old. If he goes out, there's still people behind him that can do the damn job. You know
I'm
what I'm
not
saying?
saying that we don't have our guys, but I'm saying I think it's still a bit unfair that you're saying, hey, him with all his starters that are healthy. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can't help the injury bug. You lose like your star guys who went out there and had all their production. You can still come in there and win games, which we're talking like this team is 1-1 right now. We're
No,
just talking
no.
about performance wise, it didn't look good. Team is still 2-0. Problem is that I mean, you just got to give him a chance. Let's judge this kid whenever he's under similar circumstances as these other kids who are going to have this help. That's my uh that's just my thing, and that's how I've been
yeah,
I
about this
but
understand.
offense.
I understand.
some of it is just and you pointed it out, Chris. Some of it is just raw decision making.
Yeah,
Has nothing to do with personnel, right? Like hit the check down. move the chains. Why are you throwing it? Like, there's some certain things where it's just like I see Nico doing the common sense stuff,
Yeah,
and I see
I get that.
Jackson
That's good. That's a
Arnold
good point.
trying to show it off, right?
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff is just like maturity
Yeah,
too.
that's that
So
extra year
I
season I
think
was talking
too.
about.
Yeah, and I think too, like Nina, you pointed out, they're coming from a historic quarterback class. That's the other thing. I think if Jackson Arnold was like in the 2022 class with Cade Klubnik, right? Then you're like, hey, well, he's better than everybody else, right? Like,
Yeah.
but because that 2023 class, like, it's highly competitive right now. Like Dante Moore's already transferred, Rashada's already transferred. Like all these guys have been moving all over the place. But then Nico's already looking like a first round pick and all that. I mean, yeah, there's some
And Nick, they
pressure
came
there
out the same
to keep up
time.
with
You
your
still, I
peers.
mean, the story is still going to unfold, baby. They came out the same time. They same class.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's
I
just
was telling,
competitive
I
with
mean,
those
yeah, I
that
was telling
group.
Nick that. But yeah,
No, no,
you
no.
good?
But I
Oh,
think that's
gotcha.
what. Yeah, but I think that's what Steven was kind of getting at too. Is you see how one looks and how the other one looks, and it's two different quarterbacks.
Hey,
It's two different.
all I'll say is right here, we got 10 games to play in this season, baby. Let's not talk about all of that when we only
Oh
we only
yeah,
have
that's
this
true. That's
episode
true.
of
I mean, but
football.
all we can talk about is the first two games, and it has been a little lackluster from a few teams. And we'll talk about Alabama here next against USF. 2 years in a row against USF. This game was 14-13 going into the fourth quarter. I know they had some penalties that didn't go in Bama's way. However, it is South Florida that went 6-6 last year, and it's a team that's probably on the same path this year to go 6-6, maybe a little bit better this year, maybe 7-5. Alabama has too much talent on that team to even have this game be close. To have this game be close. My wife was watching this game. She's from Alabama, and she had to stop watching it because she was like, "What the hell is going on?" Right, and so um, you guys know how I feel about Milrow. I think Milrow, if everything clicks in this offense, I think he's the Heisman Trophy winner this year because I just think he's that kind of special of a talent. But Milrow's not making my picks look good this year so far after game two. But fellas, tell me what you think about this Bama game against South Florida, and is this something that should be concerning for Alabama, or is just them going through the motions like last year?
I think it's a little concerning when you just 2 years in a row you've messed around with South Florida, but now you had Milrow and you're at home, right? And Nick Saban's name, they had the whole Nick Saban thing that night, and y'all struggling, right? And not just struggling, but like goofy stuff,
Yeah,
fumbles, turnover, like
yeah,
everything that could go, fumbled snaps, like just all sorts of craziness happening in the game. I want to say this though, Todd Orlando, congrats, you coached your ass off that game. You were throwing 2 years in a row. You've confused Bama quarterbacks and had them looking all sorts of way. I want to hear from my boy Jance in the chat too and get
yeah.
Jance's 2 cents on this because I know he has some concerns. But I want to address two things. Milrow, number one, I think he's going to be fine in the long run. He seems like a guy that just gets better as the season goes on.
Hmm.
But one of the concerns I personally had with him moving with Kalen DeBoer is, this the natural progression of passing mechanics and being refined with his pocket awareness. The same thing that we've talked about where Quinn has just grown leaps and bounds
Hmm.
with how he handles the pocket. Milrow is still, just he runs himself into sacks or contact or won't necessarily make the proper read, quickly and just keep things moving. And he's not as dangerous as he should be with that type of athleticism. I think he'll get there. They have the weapons. I think they have better weapons. Ryan Williams and all those guys that went off at the end of the game. But the last thing I'll say is this, and Chris, USF, the game is what, 21-13, 6 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And you kick a field goal at the 5-yard line on 4th and goal. There's 6 minutes left. You kick a field goal.
Yeah, you got to go big.
I was like,
man,
oh my
go
God.
broke. You got to go for broke.
You got to go for broke. If you don't get it, they're at the 5. They're backed up anyway. If you don't get it, you need a touchdown. You kick these people are not able to do math. You still need a touchdown.
And
I didn't get it.
that
I
makes
That's
agree.
you
where they
wonder
lost me,
because
bro.
yeah, that makes you wonder because I mean, Alabama was having problems handling the ball all night. They had ball security issues. I'll say this right here. Um, I think Milroe is more talented than Penix last year. I still do. I think he's more talented. I think he can make all the throws and do all the rest of that stuff. I think the offense, to me, what I was excited about coming into the season is that they were going to simplify the offense. So for Milroe, I think there's been some miscues, but there have been some moments where you're like, man, like they look elite. They can run the ball. They can do different things like that. But some of the fumbles and some of the turnovers they had that night were just really uncharacteristic. It was hard really flipping back between that game and OU. I was like, they're playing the same exact game and they're playing with fire. One team just kind of woke up. One sleeping giant woke up late in the fourth quarter and said, "All right, cool, we calling game on this by two tutties, right?"
Mhm.
But defensively, they still looked apart to some degree. I don't think the level of intensity is still there that they had obviously under Saban, but I think the talent is still there and it shows up. They travel and it shows. But to me, it seems like regardless of the coach, just that play style when they play against a team like USF or Tennessee, right? It just seems like that scheme gives them problems. Like no matter how good their personnel is, it just seems like that gives them problems. So that's something that we gotta definitely be on the lookout for. But I mean, I think Bama will be okay. Second game of the season, I think that it definitely was uncharacteristic. I think I wouldn't necessarily put USF on the schedule, but I'm just gonna say this right here. Y'all want to talk about Tulane and his comments and all the rest of this stuff. Wisconsin is going to be a good ass. That should be a good ass game early. If they don't go down there and put them away early, that's going to be a good ass game because I just think I'm not. Don't trust me. I'm not the biggest Tyler Van Dyke fan. I still don't know how he didn't work out
I don't
with
trust him
Miami.
either.
I
He
don't
gonna turn
either.
that rock
That
over.
that's the only thing that scares me because I don't know, but I think Luke Fickle's gonna call a really good game. But at in Madison, in early morning, it's gonna be
My
interesting.
It's
But
gonna be
I think they'll
interesting.
get it done.
Yeah, I think Bama's going to win this kind of game, and I say this because it's going to be more of a mano a mano game, and I think Bama just like they'll have the athletes just to beat them. So just like Jen said, man, South Florida blitzed every play like crazy, right? They just threw people, spied, spied Miro, and just said Miro's not going to beat me. He's not going to beat me 1-on-1. He's not going to scramble all over the place and beat me. But I think this game, like it's a game of matchups, right? So I just got a feeling that it's probably going to line up to where, Bama's going to line up against, them, and it's gonna. I won't say it won't be an easier game, but it'll be a game that is going to match up better for Bama against Wisconsin. I got Bama winning that game, so should be interesting. Should be interesting. So what's up with Stevens? He's
That boy
popping in
over
and
there
out.
on that Texas Public Library. I heard it. Yeah, Steven, come back in here. Texas fans, while y'all worried about OU, let me ask y'all this question, David Bum Burner, whatever
Don't
your
be talking
last
about
name
Brown
is.
Burner like that.
I heard that y'all ain't got water. Y'all running out of water in that state. Don't come to Oklahoma looking for water, baby. We ain't gonna give y'all none. We gonna pee on that side of the Red River and laugh at y'all and did pick up some water and go home. Don't come on this side, baby.
Boy, man, hey, look, man, you crazy. But look, man, Bama is, I think Bama's going to get better throughout the season. They always do. You know what I'm saying? And so, just like any other season, they had a bad season last year. Maybe this was a game of jitters. They had Saban back in the stadium, maybe trying to impress the old man while he's there. That was the guy that
Hell
brought him
no.
there. Ain't no telling, man. It just is what it is. There's something with you. Hey, USF has something on Alabama. We've seen it 2 years in a row. They got some juju on them. I'm like, Chris, don't schedule them no more than the next 15 years. Don't do it. But talking about Bama, I want to get to the next section. We're gonna, call this Chris's infamous title, "Dogs versus Bums,"
Oh
right?
yeah. Was
And
it
let's
Doug's?
talk
Was it the
about,
Doug's?
yeah, man. Let's talk about teams that we thought were bums in the SEC this week, and teams that we thought were dogs in the SEC this week. I want to start this off. Okay, my bum team, Arkansas. You're my bum team. Okay,
Ooh.
look,
Ooh, get him.
look, man. I picked on Bleacher Report that Oklahoma State was going to beat y'all. Right, I did. I picked that. However, like the game was right there for you to take. It was right there, and you gave it up. You gave it up like old girl did on Uncle Shay Shay's video today, man. You just gave it up, man. You gave it up. When you put your head in that pillow, just let you know I gave it all I had. You gave it up, man. Come on, man. Arkansas, man. You gave it up. So you had a chance to win that game. I was ready to eat crow. I was ready to eat crow that game because I like Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? I do. I like them as a team. I want to see their quarterback do well this year, except when he plays Texas. You know, I like them. But I did have Oklahoma State winning this game because I do not trust Sam Pittman.
I
But
I just want to make this comment. I had
yeah,
Arkansas winning that game. Arkansas should have won that game by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. The Fumaruski hit
yeah,
them yet again. If I'm gonna pick a bomb, I'm gonna pick a bomb. Like obviously, a part of me wants to pick Auburn, but I gotta pick Kentucky.
well,
What was
Steven
that?
was talking about that earlier in the chat. Yeah.
What was that? And before we get off this pod, we got to show some love to South Carolina, who has game day coming there to them for whatever reason they are. It must be a terrible week 3, but regardless, bruh, like what this is what gets you sometimes. And Steven, be quiet. This is what gets you sometimes about Lincoln Riley. This dude picked Vandergriff over over Caleb. Got it to the point where Caleb said, regardless if you take him, I'm coming there. Even if you don't give me a scholarship, I'll walk on and beat this kid out. This is sometimes it does make you wonder, like Lincoln, what the hell are you seeing in this kid? Because this makes no sense. I'm sorry, I'm being critical, but Kentucky went out there against South Carolina, who is still trying to find whatever they're going to be outside of that defensive line, because Dylan Stewart is him, right? But I mean, you only scored 6 points. It was a home game. I don't know, man. That kind of that was surprising simply because I
That's
think we
crazy.
all believe that Mark Stoops is one of the better coaches in the SEC and in the nation. And that was just
One of the
surprising.
better
I
coaches
mean,
in the nation.
I do. I think he's one. I think he's a really good coach. I
You think
do.
Mark Stoops is one of the better
Mark
coaches in the
Stoops, they
nation?
are a consistent team. You consistently know what they are. If
He's
we're gonna give
consistently, if he was one of the better coaches in the nation, then he wouldn't consistently be at Kentucky. He would be somewhere else coaching,
hey,
okay?
he was going to be at A&M until A&M went and did the A&M thing. And they said, hey, nah, we don't want him. We want to get Elko. Okay, practically the same coach.
Like I said, if he was one of the best coaches in the nation, he wouldn't consistently be at the University of Kentucky.
All
I will
right,
say
go
he's a
ahead, go
good,
ahead.
yeah. My shocking thing with Kentucky, man. Look, 17 passes for the entire game. Like your starting quarterback is 3 for 10.
Yeah,
I get
bro.
it. You ran the ball 46 times for only 139 yards. Like, what the hell is going on over there, man? Uh, uh, like that offense screams of just pink puke. It's just come on, man. 6 out of 17 from the quarterbacks, from both quarterbacks. 3 out of 10 for Brock. Gavin Wimsat, 3 out of 7. The running game was non-existent. I mean, it was just I had higher hopes for Kentucky. Yeah, so they are a bum team. I will give you that, Chris. Third bum's got to be Auburn, Chris. Go ahead and lay it in to Auburn, dog. I know you want to give it to Auburn.
Steven, when you come back on here, because I know you're trying to get back in here, you're probably listening. Steven, say it with me, okay? Everybody say it with me. Peyton Thorne, BUM, bum, okay? Doesn't deserve to be on the film. What are we doing? Robbie Ashford, where are you at? Oh, you're not on the team because y'all chose Peyton Thorne. Get the kid out of there. He can't do it.
4
Cal.
picks,
Cal
man.
came out there with a guy who transferred from the FCS and made him look like Thurman Thomas out there. I mean, this dude was all over the field. The dude was, I mean, all I know is this right here is that I expect more from them. I'm not necessarily sure the extent of Coleman's injury, but if it's anything that lingers, that could be big issues for them too. Defensively, you see the want to, you see the effort from a bunch of guys out there, but you just don't see the execution from the others, right? And it's
Yeah.
going to take 11 guys to really to do their jobs to get things done. So that was a bad game. Now you have Freeze talking about running the ball more and being more what basic on offense or whatnot, which is not anything that he wants to do.
And
So
still got whooped.
losing to Cal, which they lost to Cal last year, right?
Yeah, they lost to Cal like 14-7
Kind of
last year or something like
reminds me
that.
of Texas back with Sam Ellinger losing to Maryland twice in a row. But I digress.
Peyton
So
Thorne ain't going. Peyton Thorne ain't gonna be in nobody's NFL roster, man. We
you
didn't have
like
no
that?
talent in
You
that team.
like
You know
that?
that.
You like
You know we
that?
didn't have no talent in that team. You want to talk about no talent? I
I
don't want to
just
hear.
say, I just say, I just say,
I shouldn't say no talent. No.
Hugh Freeze or Freaky Freeze, whatever Ty calls you, do better, be better, because I know that you're better. All right, that's really all I got to say about that.
Yeah, man. Auburn bums. Look, man. This is the second year in a row against Cal. Come on, bro. Like Hugh Freeze, I literally talk you up for the past couple years, man. Like Chris will tell you, I'm like Auburn is one of those teams that I believe is going to be a good team in the near future because I believe in Hugh Freeze. Right, no matter what he's done in his past, I believe in him. Chris will tell you, I've been saying this for 2-3 years now.
See, it's true.
Yeah, you are not making the case for me to make you look good any better, right? So Auburn gets the bum award too. Now,
And hold on.
okay, go
And
ahead.
you know what, Peyton Thorne, you make Steven look bad because Steven usually throws a good bone out there in the yard, but he said that you were going to be decent or at least good enough to win games for Auburn. Now look at him. He looks
That was last
surprised.
year. I was never in on Peyton Thorne this year. That was last year, coming from Michigan State. I just want to make that clarification. I do not want to be associated to that man. Absolutely not.
Absolutely
That is
not.
nasty business right there. No, to Auburn. Auburn's a bum though. I mean, if Ty was on here, Ty has been the resident Hugh Freeze hater.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes I think he goes a little overboard with it. But was he justified?
Yes, very.
Very much justified. Ty was, because this is a year one. I told you guys, when you lose to New Mexico State by getting skunked,
Dude, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, Steven.
bro. Cal,
I
bro.
know, man.
And Jordan Hare.
2 in a row, man. And then, Kristen had to
That's
bring up.
gross.
Chris said it reminded him of Texas when like Maryland got us 2 in a row. I don't want to hear about that, Chris. No more.
I
Right?
know, I was just
Yeah, man. That brought back
Nah,
bad
it's
memories.
Chris, it's worse. Chris, it's worse. I'm gonna tell you why. At least no, Maryland. Look, especially being from the area, like Maryland, at least has kids that are gonna go. They always have kids that go to the league. Like there's players on that team, bro. Cal, come on. It's not the same. It's not the same. That's egregious. At least Maryland will have Ohio State and Penn State and them sweat until the fourth quarter until they respectfully lose by 14 or 17 points.
Like
but they'll hang in there.
Yeah.
But like Cal? Like, what conference is Cal in? Are they in the ACC?
bro?
Oh, they're in the ACC now?
They're in the ACC, bro.
Right,
I was all wrong about that conference. I was thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to pick Florida State because DJU and Norvell is not a match made in heaven.
No,
I said Clemson.
Auburn cost people money this weekend,
that's
Chris.
what I'm saying.
A lot of people.
That's what I'm saying.
I bet on them. I had Auburn covering like an idiot.
It is what it is, man. But yeah, they are a bum.
Screw those guys, man. I'm never betting on them again.
Oh man. All right, man. So $5 holler, man. You know what I'm saying? From Michael Schwer. He goes, how pissed would the other SEC schools be if Texas comes in first year and runs the table? A&M will quit to another conference. I think A&M will try to go to the Big Ten immediately.
Speaking of that, I'm not necessarily sure what other topics you had, but if we can we could talk about like 2 games of the week this week in
Yeah,
the SEC, which
yeah.
I honestly I think that LSU game and South Carolina game, go Cox. I think that should be that should be a I think that should be in there.
Let's see.
What's the
But
over under on that game? Out of
Hold
curiosity,
on.
LSU
Let
the
me
first,
which one? The SEC LSU game.
yeah.
the LSU
Let
SC
me see.
game.
The spread is LSU -7, 49.5.
What's the over under?
49.5.
Interesting.
-7 LSU.
LSU
So,
still
Allegedly
was
the
letting
best
Nichols.
offensive line in the SEC against arguably the
dude,
best defensive player in the SEC through 2 weeks.
LSU, think about this for a minute, man. I want you guys to think about this. Nicholls State, yeah, they scored 21 points on LSU, right? Now, I
When
get it.
were those 21 points? Because some people
Seven each
say,
quarter. Seven each
yeah,
quarter.
like they were
7 for the
scoring.
first 3 quarters. it was 14-23 at halftime.
Yeah,
Okay,
those weren't
that's all I gotta
empty
say.
calorie points.
It's 14-23 at halftime. Okay, so I think Chris might be onto something with this one. Chris, yeah, South Carolina LSU might be a barn burner. Okay,
It may be it may be a 3-and-out fest. It may be a bum fight. You may have to throw the spoon out there and see who's gonna try to cut the other person, man. I'm telling you.
I hate to say that, but yeah, man. I think that's gonna be a good game. Chris, look, man. I think OU versus Tulane is gonna be an interesting game. I do. I don't want to make
I
it
think
sound
it'll
bad.
be interesting for maybe the first couple of series, but I think that one gets out of hand. I'm not gonna say
No.
66-7 like somebody said, but I do
No.
think that we cover the spread.
I mean, I thought y'all were going to beat the shit out of Houston.
I did too. That's why I think this game is going to go deep into the third quarter. I think OU pulls out in the fourth quarter. Pause. But I do think this
we
goes
go
deep
Uncle
into the third
Shannon.
quarter.
I think we go Unc today, and I think we get the job done early, and then we cut it off. Just letting you know.
I got it going deep into the third quarter. OU pulls away in the fourth.
Go ahead.
And I got OU. Let me see. Over under is 47.5. OU, the spread is 13.5 for OU. Ooh.
I'm taking the spread.
That's gonna be interesting. I don't know about that one. Honestly, all these games are pretty damn good. BC versus Missouri might be entertaining. BC might be entertaining game.
Ty wants to pick BC. He's been on the BC's going to upset Mizzou.
I don't know if they're going to upset them, but I think the game's going to be interesting. But the next game is going to be a bum fest, and it's Texas A&M in Florida. These are
that's
two
the
bums.
game that I'm going to tell you now. I don't think that's going to be a bum fest, right?
No, it's two bums playing each other, so it is a bum fest, but it's going to be a good game.
Lagway changes the game, man.
I said this last week. Do you want Lagway to come in and play with that horrible offense? These are teams that could screw up a true freshman's his whole mental way of thinking in football for his entire career if you put him in a situation like this and he's not ready and he's getting his ass beat every play. This could really damper down all expectations for him. And as well, this could beat on a kid's confidence, man. I'm just being honest.
I get it, baby, but sometimes, hey, you gotta go play. That's what we paying you all this money for. We need him. He needs to be out there. He needs to get seasoned. It's time.
I don't know about the seasoning on this one.
NIL changed the whole game, baby. We talked about the 12 game playoff last week, changing the landscape. This week,
Riley, it is at the swamp.
Make his money.
This game is at the swamp.
No, I mean, okay, I get it, but look here.
Thank you for the super chat, Matthew Miller. What's up, man?
Matthew Miller says, I think OU turns it around. Jackson Arnold shaves the pedo stash. So I should have read that first in my head before.
He about to get you demonetized, man.
You got to get
that out of here. Look here, man. Okay,
Nino reads anything on the teleprompter.
Exactly. Move left, center right.
Texas A&M and Florida, man. That's gonna be a pretty damn good game, man. Because I like A&M's defense. I do. They just don't have an offense. Their defense is legit.
Lagway threw for what 500 yards last week against the
Sanford,
Methodist
Yeah,
Sanford
Sanford, yes.
College.
how many?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he threw for
He looked
456.
amazing.
It's Sanford, man.
I know. I know. But they feel but sometimes a guy like that gives you juice.
That is,
Sometimes
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
it just wakes the team up, and no disrespect to Graham Mertz, but when you get blitzkrieg by Miami and Cam Ward,
That's true.
sometimes they're looking around like, where's our Cam Ward? Right?
That's
Like who
that's true. Lagway, hey, look, man, I'm gonna watch the game because I love football, and of course I like to just
it's
watch good
two big
football.
schools too.
Yeah,
I mean,
two big brands, Nino equals Brown very shut up, man.
Exactly.
that's exactly what we were talking about. He got the joke.
I'm done. I'm done. Hey man, I'm getting cooked right now. All
We're
right.
sleeping on BC. We're sleeping on BC Mizzou though, because
It's gonna
BC
be a good game.
they tore up FSU. Now I don't know how much
But FSU's
weight you
garbage.
guys, but
Hot
that
garbage.
little hey, but what's his name? Thomas Castellanos or whatever his name is, the
Yeah, I'm
quarterback.
surprised he stayed. I
Hey,
am so surprised he
that
stayed.
guy's spicy, man.
He is,
That
man.
little that guy.
That's a little running quarterback, right?
I don't want to see that
Hey, man.
guy.
Who is comparing him to Kyler Murray? It's like, shut up.
That
Have
was
you ever seen Kyler
Scott
Murray
Van
play?
Pelt.
I
Hey,
mean,
yeah,
he's like a
no, come on, man. We talking about
I
Kyler
mean, if you
Murray.
want to say poor man's version,
Yeah,
but
give
comparing
me a
him
poor
yeah,
outright,
he's
man's
like a
version.
shallow Hal Kyler Murray type, yo.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
it's like, there
Kyler
go. Oh,
Murray.
if
that's
you have
not
a certain
Kyler.
glasses on.
Here, Kyler Murray with the shag. You know what I'm saying? With the Dallas shag. You know what I
That
mean?
guy's good though.
He is good. No, no. I look. I'm not hating on the kid. He can ball, man. I'm not,
He's
but
a
Kyler
baller.
Murray is a come on, man. I'm not an OU fan, but look. That's a Heisman Trophy winner, first pick of the draft, probably best.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In
Like,
two sports.
yeah, first round draft pick in two sports, and arguably the greatest Texas
Greatest
high
Texas high
school
school.
quarterback
Yeah.
of all time. You know what I'm saying? So, arguably, you know what I'm saying? Because they had this guy named VY who
He's
was
the
pretty
best
damn good
high school
himself.
football player I've ever seen in my life in person.
Oh, in
Steven
person.
And I
said,
saw him
Okay,
I'm gonna put it
and I
in
out
saw
person.
him
there. It's a
in
shut up,
person.
G.
In person.
Say,
In
shut
And I
up,
person.
saw
G. Shut up,
I,
G.
I saw Miles Garrett too. And he was cold too.
Yeah, Mouse
But
Garrett, he's a beast, man. But yeah, so that's gonna be a
that
good.
BC QB is nice though.
He is
But
nice, man.
Missouri also though, knowing their schedule and
They
kind
can
of where
easy
they
schedule.
sit right now, they're number 6 in the country. They
Yes,
look good. They're covering. This could be a game where
it's a
Eli
trap
and
game.
them are like drinking them are like, look, it could be, but like Missouri's favorite what's by 16.
Okay, so this is what like this is the beauty about college football, right? We looked at Missouri's schedule at the beginning of the season and said
Mm-hmm.
this is an easy schedule. Like they should run through this schedule, and they really got one or
Coming
two
off an
hard games.
11-2 season.
Yeah, BC is not a walkover like we thought they were going to be. Vanderbilt's not a walkover like we thought they were going to be, folks. A&M's defense is still A&M's defense, right?
Only thing that scares me about them at this game for BC is that it's at Mizzou and they play really good at home.
They do play really good at home, and they're fast. They're so fast at home too, man. So,
Missouri has not allowed a point yet this year, by the way.
yeah, you're right. They are up right
That boy,
now,
They've had 2
that boy,
shutouts.
89 to zip right now. But it was against Murray State and Buffalo. Okay, well we're going. Shout out to Buffalo. I got family in Buffalo on the east side. It's all good, but yeah, man. Boston College is going to be a very, very interesting game. I still got Missouri winning this game. I like
I
Cooks
think
and I
this is
like
the game that
Burden.
Luther Burden comes alive. He's been chilling the first
Yeah.
couple games.
This man said Walmart Kyler Murray. JB, you off the chain for this one, dog. Come on, man. This man said a shallow Hal. Come on, bruh. Steven is on one today. And he did say shallow Hal. You're crazy. Look, man. This is Jay. Mizzou ain't trash, Jay. Jay's the homie, man. See,
Mizzou
Murray
is
State
not
and
trash.
Buffalo.
Come on. At this point, they won the Cotton Bowl last year. They're also 14-2 in the last 16 games. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey, if
So
you
At some
buying
point,
drink stock,
you gotta.
don't do that. Don't do that.
what do you say?
What'd you say?
If you buying that drink with stock, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's all good, man.
I know.
That's
They haven't played
that's not them
anybody.
GameStop stocks.
Hey,
Hey
just
Gents, how's your Buffaloes doing, buddy?
38 to zip, baby. Nah, so all right, man. Those are the games, man. It's like 9 o'clock, bro. We got a
Yeah.
good hour in, man. Get a little mental gymnastics up here on some football, man. Hey folks, tune in to all our shows, man. Nino's Corner Sports. We got Steven with the FP Fanatic Perspectives. I'm not gonna even say it. I'll go ahead and say it. Chris with a K with the Down Podcast. Ty with the Roundtable Sports and Jay from Unfair Sports, man. Tune in. Also tune in, folks. Fridays, Bleacher Report. We do the college football roundtable. Jay's doing Locked On Sooners. Ty's doing, what is he doing? Bama. What else? Steven, the Bama something I forgot. The
Yeah,
Bama
the
Standard.
Bama. Yeah, Bama Standard.
Yeah, I mean he's doing that. Look, you can catch us everywhere, man.
And you
Everybody's
can
throwing
catch
a
us
bunch of
over
stuff.
in the Nightcap live stream on Shannon Sharp's channel right now because that's where I'm headed. Because I need to hear what this brother has to say. So I'll see y'all over there.
I'll see
You're
y'all
absolutely right. It's 8 o'clock over here. Yeah, I'm about to head over to Nightcap.
I said,
Oh my
damn,
Oh, man, y'all
Get
are
my popcorn
stupid.
ready.
Y'all are stupid, man. Get your popcorn right like the boy T.O. said.
It's like-
T.O.
it's
did
like-
say
it's like,
that the voice sound
"Still,
familiar.
still,
T.O.
fight
said the
back,
voice sound
still."
familiar. Get your popcorn ready. Get your popcorn ready, man. They over here passing you. I'm going to stop. Let me get up out of here. We out, man. Deuces.